Finally tonight, for kids who grew up with Howdy Doody and Ed Sullivan, the metal lunchbox was often a status symbol. A Barbie lunchbox or a Lone Ranger lunchbox meant you were cool. A generic red plaid lunchbox meant you definitely were not. Now, a generation later, a Massachusetts collector is trying to persuade America to return to those exciting days of yesteryear. Joe Bergantino reports.
In the 1950s, Beaver Cleaver had one.
Here's your lunch.
A favorite lunchbox. And so did millions of other little baby boomers.
I had a Davy Crockett tuna fish smelling lunchbox. I was Roy Rogers. It had a little thermos inside and room for the sandwich and the cookie and the apple. That was it.
The lunchbox, once relegated to oblivion in the nation's thrift shops, is now feeding the 30-something generation's hunger for nostalgia. Thanks to Scott Bruce, a Cambridge, Massachusetts visual artist and America's foremost collector.
They were perfect. They were emblazoned with all the characters of my childhood. They were still very cheap, and I began to collect in earnest.
And collect he did for the past 3 years. The 1,500 metal and vinyl boxes lining the walls of his apartment offer a trip down memory lane.
This is the very first television character lunchbox ever made. It's the granddaddy of them all. And within a year, sales of this box were over 1 million. This is the Beatles caboodle. One in excellent condition went at auction last year for $600.
And like many of these boxes, it could have been bought new for only a few dollars not too long ago.
So there's been a remarkable appreciation, something like 100% a year. Few stocks can match that.
How did lunchbox prices skyrocket?
I think Scott's a terrific example of one of the most honest market manipulators we have in the antiques and collectibles business. We have a lot of people who try to manipulate prices, but nobody who does it as much up front as Bruce does.
Scott Bruce has done it by writing his own book about lunchboxes to stimulate interest and give the box its rightful place in social history.
Lunchboxes are interesting time capsules that reflect the attitudes of the popular culture at the time.
Bruce also publishes his own newsletter, Hot Boxing, for a 300-member network of lunchbox collectors. And with a steady flow of newspaper stories and TV reports, lunchboxes are now a hot item in the nation's collectible stores.
They've been going crazy just the past year.
Bruce figures his collection is worth about $75,000, and he's predicting prices will continue to rise. He should know. He's also written the only official price guide to lunchbox collectibles. A calendar and a traveling museum exhibit are in the works. So if you think these transporters of tuna fish and Oreos serve only one purpose, think again. 20 years from now, they could help finance Jennifer or Jason's college education. Joe Bergantino, ABC News, Boston.
That's our report for tonight. Britt Hume will have more news later on the Weekend Report. I'm Carol Simpson. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
From Washington, this has been World News Saturday. Tomorrow, watch ABC's World News Sunday for a complete look at the day's top stories.
This has been a presentation of ABC News, where more Americans get their news than from any other source.